I mean, we had really a good discussion there in the panel, and what was very clear is that we will have a growing demand of spectrum, and it will not be an easy task to get everybody the amount of spectrum that they need for the service in an unlimited way. So we need to think how we can work in the future. And I would not call it a surprise, but it was certainly good to see that there was some agreement that new technology and innovation may help in the future to satisfy all these different needs and can also contribute to the necessary harmonization of the spectrum. And also what is clear that we have to face this task because using radio technology will be one of the cornerstones to reach the sustainable development goals that we have for 2030. Well, what we have today, of course, is in the discussion that we have in ITU, so mainly when we talk about new allocations, for example, we have extensive discussions of what are the spectrum needs of a specific service. So when you come up with some new ideas, of course, you need to justify how much spectrum do you use. And also in ITU, we do a pretty good deal on the system requirements and the system characteristics, for example. And that also gives a proof on how efficient the system is designed. And of course, we also need to work on this side. And that all together, of course, in the intensive discussions that we take during a study period, I believe that is the key, that we can balance out these different requirements from the different services for the different users and, well, make the best decision at the end that everybody is satisfied. We had the view that technology is key to make a more efficient use of the spectrum. There are certain technology and, let's say, parts and pieces that we need to look into. One is very clear: interference cancellation in different ways help. Of course, what we may also need to look at are the receiver requirements. I believe this is something what we need to have more in our focus to make also receiver more robust. This is important that for the services, if they are incumbent, that they are not get, let's say, some distortion from new services that arise in neighbor bands. So this is something we certainly need to look at. We can work on technologies that do offer more synergy for the same service. For example, you can use broadcast technologies that have a lot of things in common with mobile cellular technologies for the mobile communication and so on, and that makes it easier to harmonize them. Certainly spectrum sharing is something which we need to look more and more in the future. We see the first implementations being there, like CBRS in the US. And of course, probably also do a little bit more on the spectrum sensing, that we get more flexible. So if there's spectrum free that we can use, that we can have this flexibility to use it for new services on a finer granularity. I believe this is certainly something which we need to look at, and all this basket of different technologies and innovations that we can do in the future help us to improve the spectrum harmonization and the spectrum usage. Well, I would say technology can push the limits further out, but at a certain point of time, you need to decide which services will occupy the spectrum, which services will have an allocation. So this is certainly something that you need to decide, in which technology not directly helps you with. So technology can push the limit, but also the demand is growing. So the discussion and the careful, well, let's say, considerations of all the spectrum needs for what is used. Is it safety of life? Also, which kind of, let's say, characteristics of the spectrums are used for which service? The physics, so to say, cannot be changed so directly. So these decisions need to be taken at a point of time where we already have, let's say, considered all technology improvements, but certainly we need to take a decision on how to do the allocations and how to use the service in a certain frequency band. I think that can technology not solve alone. I believe these online events was, so to say, the opportunity to stay in contact. And from our experience, I believe that it was a good way to at least keep the contact to people that you have already been working with. I mean, online events, as you may also know, is not the best place to make up the new contacts. And this brings me down that I'm looking forward that we can meet in person again. I think for many reasons. One of them is to make new contacts, to and also improve the ones you already have. There's nothing better than a physical meeting, than the direct discussion with people in front of you. But when you look at the circumstances that we had during COVID times, I think this was the best thing we could do.